Hi there, students. I'm XS. That's little x, little s, which stands for extra sweet, because that's what I am. Since it's now Dogtober, for today's grammar drop, I wanted to introduce a handy little adverb and pseudoverb meaning to be surprised. Bikkuri. When used on its own, bikkuri can be an interjection. You might use bikkuri in a way that's relatively similar to "you scared me" in English. The implication of bikkuri doesn't necessarily need to be a scary or frightful moment, although it certainly can be. If your friend jumps out of a dark hallway and startles you, that can be a bikkuri situation, right? Your friend jumps out, you get scared, and then you go, bikkuri! However, you can also use bikkuri to describe situations in which something happened that you simply weren't expecting, right? Something that just took you by surprise. Here's an example. So the first person says, 誰かが私のスタイルは時代遅れだと言った。And then the other person replies, へえ、怒られたの? And then you reply once more, いやいや、びっくり. So let's quickly go through the meaning for this little dialogue that I've created. 誰か. This means somebody. It's actually an interesting little segment. Dare is the word in Japanese for who. Ordinarily, it's a question word, and it functions to form questions like, who is that person? その人は誰ですか? We use this exactly the same way as who in English. But when we add ka to the end of dare, it changes to dareka, and that stops being a question word and it becomes a noun. It's kind of like a placeholder for who, right? And the meaning of this word becomes somebody, right? It's who we don't know. Who we don't know is somebody. Could be anybody. Ga is next, and that's our subject particle. It's marking the subject of the sentence as dareka. We're going to come back to this in a moment because it gets complicated, but that's fine. Next is watashi. That means I. It's me, myself, and we know this. No is the possessive particle. We use no in a way that's very similar to apostrophe s in English. It marks the preceding thing as the owner and the subsequent thing as the owned item. So in the case of watashi no style, it's my style. Style, as I just said, means style, right? I've heard it used to describe someone's hairstyle, their clothing style, or also like the style or model of a specific thing, like American style versus Japanese style. Now, wa is our topic marker. It marks the topic of the sentence as watashi no style, my style. Wa and ga are really complicated. There are whole books written on when you should use wa and when you should use ga. I think there might be a conception that wa and ga should be swapped here because the verb of this sentence is itta, and who is doing the itta, who is doing the speaking, it's dareka, somebody. But actually, the topic of our sentence is my style. And that's because that's the most important part of the sentence, right? That's why we came to have this conversation. I would not have come to have this conversation with my friend had it not been for my style. The base of the sentence really is my style is old-fashioned. 私のスタイルは時代遅れだ. Ne? Everything else about the sentence is simply adding additional information that places that assertion into context. My style is old-fashioned. What makes me think that? Well, somebody told me. So you almost have to kind of strip away the rest of the sentence and go down to the very basic. And when we get down to the very basic sentence, we get our wa there, which is our topic, right? Because that's the base sentence. Now, jidai okure means old-fashioned, as I explained just now. And then da is the plain present tense of des, our copula. Why is it in the plain present tense? Well, because the verb is actually at the end of the sentence. The verb is itta, and that verb at the end of the sentence is going to carry the tense. And this verb is being treated as empty. It's not carrying politeness, and it's not carrying tense. The next element in our sentence is to. In this case, to is quotative. To can perform a couple different functions as a particle, but one function that it performs is as a kind of quotation marking particle. If you see to followed by a verb of speech or expression, like iu, meaning to say, hanasu, meaning to speak, or omo, meaning to think, then there's a good chance that what comes before is a quote or a paraphrase. This is another reason that ga is used at the beginning of our sentence here, because everything between ga and to can be thought of as a quote. Who said it? Somebody. What did they say? My style is out of date. And so that just leaves itta, to say, past tense, plain. It's plain form because we're talking to a buddy or something, right? We're talking to one of our friends. The base verb is iu. Iu is a godan verb, and godan verbs that end in the u vowel will conjugate by adding small tsu plus ta to the root. And that gives us this whole sentence, right? Dareka ga watashi no style wa jirai o kureta to itta. Ne? Somebody said that my style is out of date. Now, next sentence. Okorareta no? We'll break this down again, but it has fewer parts. He. It's an exclamation of shock. Japanese has a special class of words that we know of as filler words. These are words that don't have a semantic meaning, but just kind of flavor the conversation. Sometimes in Japanese, they're used to extend the conversation, and sometimes they can express emotion. We have this in English too, right? We have words like, you see, wow, oh. These are small words that don't really mean anything, but they can make our speech feel more natural. Sometimes we use them when we search for other words, like, tomorrow's okay, or, wow, that really got me. He is one such word in Japanese. You often use it when you can't believe what you just heard, similar to, what? In English. Okorareta is okoru, the base verb to be angry. Only here it's in the causative passive form. It's expressing being made to be angry. And then no here is a particle being used to indicate a question. You can sometimes replace ka in a question with no, and it creates a more casual feel to the conversation. You wouldn't use no as a question marker in cases where you're trying to be polite. So the whole thing is, okoreta no? Oh my god, are you pissed off? Last sentence, very easy. Yeah, bikkuri. Yeah means like, no. It's not no as in a sharp denial. It's no as in, oh no, not at all. Or no, that's not it. It's like a soft disagreement when used in conversation. And then lastly, we have bikkuri. Here it means like, I'm shocked. The whole thing together is, yeah, bikkuri. No, I'm shocked. I'm in shock. I'm surprised, right? I'm not angry that somebody said that. I just like, I can't believe that this happened. I'm stunned. What's the implication? In English, we have words like bikkuri that we often use when we get scared, right? We have words like ak, eek, oh my god. And bikkuri can totally be used in those cases. But it can also serve as a verb. And usually when it's a verb, we're going to add suru to the end, as in bikkuri suru. But we don't have to. And I've shown here a case where we just have bikkuri and we don't have any kind of verbal form. There's nothing to conjugate here because you're just saying bikkuri. But if you wanted to have bikkuri shimashita, for instance, that's totally okay too. Now, when bikkuri is active as the verb in the sentence, it means to be surprised by something. Something took me aback. I can't believe that just happened. As I've said before, with Japanese, Sometimes words just need to be more flexible so that they can take up more than one grammatical category. Here's Bikkuri, and surprisingly, it's both an interjection and a verb. Somehow, it kind of weirdly makes me think of Pokemon. Like, I'm not trying to poke fun or anything, but the corollary situation would be one where we speak our emotions out loud in English. Like, somebody jumps out at you and you exclaim, "Surprised!" Or someone steps on your toe and you say, "Pain!" Bikkuri is kind of like that, and I sort of enjoy that, right? So it's a word that means to be surprised, and when you are surprised, you can say, "I was surprised." Bikkuri. I don't know. I like it. I've always liked this word, and so I'm glad that I get to share it with you. Just a last very quick note about bikkuri. You can also use bikkuri adverbally. In such cases, bikkuri will take the continuative shitte conjugation of the verb suru. You'll see it in cases like this. Bikkuri shite tobiagaru, which means to jump up in alarm. Or bikkuri shite sakebu, which means to shout in fear. Okay, everybody, I hope that you weren't frightened by today's grammar drop. Make sure you give me a like and subscribe. I'll be doing all kinds of creepy stuff with the Japanese language for Dogtober. See you next week. Mata raishu.